All right, internet world, it's minus 15 degrees and I wanted to shoot something special for you guys. And the reason I'm doing this in the cold today is because I'm bringing you Audi's first electric car, the Audi 2019 e-tron. So I've been driving this car for exactly 2 months. I've put on 4,500 kilometers or 2,500 miles. And all I can say is I'm going to tell you things today that's real life stuff. I'm going to talk about range. I'm going to talk about the smoothness of the car. I'm not going to give you any fluff about lane assist or automatic braking. This is just real world opinion from what I've experienced in having this car for that period of time. I'm going to talk about charging. I'm going to talk about things that bothered me on the car. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching. I want to thank Audi London for loaning me this car for my long-term test drive on the 2019 Audi e-tron. Sorry guys, while I'm filming this, these cars driving by are so loud because this thing is so quiet. I'm a total newbie when it comes to electric, so this has been a big learning curve for me. So things like, do I get the same amount of acceleration when I have 100K in range versus fully charged at 330K in range? I never knew that. But this car has absolutely no power difference at full charge and almost empty, which was like mind-boggling to me. Because when I was younger, playing with my remote control cars, when I had full new batteries, the thing would fly. And if my batteries were sort of weak, the thing would be so slow. So that's what I thought electric cars would be like. And this is not like that. So let's dive right into it and talk about the most important thing when it comes to something that is not gas, and that is charging. How does charging work? How easy is it? And is it a pain in the butt? All right, so let's get into charging here. So Audi gives you two charging options. They give you this fancy bag, and in this fancy bag, which is closed, they give you two options. They give you a nice mount to mount your charger on at home, and they give you two plugs, and they give you a control center. So basically, this is your e-tron charger that tells you if it's charging, if it's at home, blah, blah, blah. But let's get the meat and potatoes, and that's basically the two charging options. One is your typical 3-prong that you plug into the wall, where you get 110 from, and the other is a dryer vent at 220 or 240. Now, when you plug this in, how long do you think it takes to charge this e-tron? It takes 95 hours. 95 hours. I don't know if they gave you this to just choke yourself. This is a 240 charger, and this takes 9.5 hours. More reasonable. All right, so here we are at a level 2 charger, which you can find in most supermarkets, variety stores, plazas, that kind of stuff. So let's take this piece and put in the e-tron. So you push the button here and it opens up, light comes on, you take this and you try to find the top and you slide it in, you hear it click, that makes noise, and the car inside will tell you how long it's going to take to fully charge. So right now I have about 150 kilometers, or 115 as you see there, and it's going to take 8 hours and 12 minutes. So here I am, going to go in the variety store and get some groceries for 8 hours and 12 minutes. Crazy. To unlock it, you push the button, it shuts the system off, you press it, and you pull. Super easy. So let's go somewhere where we're really going to charge this thing. So here's the thing about charging, is that to go from 0, well, in Audi's world, 20%, which they consider 0, to 80%, you can do it in a fast charger, and the fast charger is 150 kilowatt charging. Now, try to find a 150 kilowatt charger in a 150 mile radius, and they're very hard to find. The infrastructure is not set up for 150 kilowatt chargers. They're set up for 50 kilowatt chargers. So 50 kilowatt chargers take approximately 4 to 4.5 hours to charge this car fully. Now, when you go to a fast charger, which is a 50 kilowatt charger, is what they call it, you can't actually charge it to 100%. You can only charge it to 80%. So you can charge it from 20% to 80%. Think about it this way. You have a big bucket of water and you're trying to fill ice trays. You take the bucket of water and you pour it in the ice tray, and the ice tray will never actually be full. You actually have to trickle charge or put drop by drop in the ice trays to get to 100%. And that's how it's designed. So you have to actually put it into a slow charger or a level 1 or level 2 charger to get it to 100%. Otherwise, you're always at 80% if you use these fast chargers. All right, so here we are at the Audi dealership. The only place I could find to actually find a 50 kilowatt charger. Now, charging stations are kind of like the wild, wild west. Everywhere you go, everybody's got different rules. I stopped in the past 2 months of driving this car to about 25 different charging stations, and they all had a different type of payment. Some have apps, some take credit cards, some don't even allow me to charge. Some places I have to go inside to register, to get a card, an RFID card, so I can take it and then scan it and go back to prove I'm a member. Like different clubs, associations, super annoying. I just want to go somewhere, put my Visa card, and off I go and charge. But they're very, very difficult to find. Go to the mall in Christmas time, try to find an electric car parking spot that has all electric cars in it. They don't. People without electric cars park in those spots, and there's nothing to stop people from parking there. So if there are 3 spots and you're low on power, where do you park and charge? They're just so difficult to find. But here we are at the Audi dealership, and we're gonna plug this thing in. And this part, unlike the last charging, you actually have to pull this down and plug the charging. So if we plug this in here, this is the fastest charger I could find. This provides 50 kilowatt power to the car, and the last one said 8 hours, and this is thinking. Oh, that is because I didn't press the start button. Let's press the start button. There we go, it's preparing to charge, setting up communication with the car, and real life right here in the middle of winter, 50 kilowatts, 1 hour and 3 minutes. So that's how long it's gonna take you to get to 80%, not 100%. This is another thing that confuses me. So if you look at this display over here, it says it's charging at 52%. Now, if it's at 52%, and it'll tell you the car says it's gonna take 62 minutes to charge, and my battery pretty much looks like half, why do I only have 115 kilometers to drive? And that is the magic question. And I think it's basically how heavy you press your foot. Because if I was only allowed to do 115 kilometers the way I've been driving, that means this car will only give me 230 kilometers. But they advertise everywhere that it's supposed to give me 330, 329 kilometers. I have a buddy that has the exact same car that gets almost 400 kilometers that drives very, very gingerly. So really, what kind of driver are you? How do you drive it? And what's the worst case scenario mileage you get? So I think really here for me, worst case scenario that I'm gonna get is about 200 kilometers or about 120 miles. And that for $117,000 or 95 US is very expensive. All right, so on the things I do like about this car, there's a lot to like. Now I know I'm a bit grumpy about the charging situation, and that's no fault of the car. It's more the fault of the infrastructure around the car. Because, like I said, it's a wild, wild west out there when it comes to charging stations, and there's so many options, and they all have their own guidelines. It's not one standard formula for every car out there. Now, Tesla is unique in itself, where only Tesla charging stations will charge their own cars because they have a different charging port. But from the Audi perspective, or any other brand like Audi that's new in the game, how do you charge it? So to me, that's bothersome. But everything else about the car is pretty awesome. All right, sorry, one more thing I gotta complain about before I tell you all the good things about this car is there's no heated steering wheel. You're thinking, are you kidding me? You just can't find it because you're an idiot. And the answer is no. There is no heated steering wheel in this car. And I don't know whether it's just this specific model that has no heated steering wheel, but that's impossible. You can't get a car with massage seats, air suspension, automatic braking, and all the rest of it, heads-up display, and have no heated steering wheel. So I thought, you know what? It's in this customizable button that they usually have, and it doesn't in there. It's not in there. So I don't know whether they just forgot about it or this was an introduction car, but it doesn't have it, and that's crazy. But everything else about the car is pretty awesome. And here are some of the reasons. The lighting in the car. Check out this lighting. All right, so finally, guys, I want to show you some colors in the car, which I really like. And this is what makes the car special, is the lighting in the car. So if I hit vehicle here and I go to light and visibility and I click interior lighting, you've got different color modes in the car. Contour, where you can change all the lighting and the lighting at my feet. Maritime, which is the blue, it's the brightest color you can get in the car. Solar, which is kind of an orange. Impulse, which is a red. Vision, which is basically like a whitish sort of creamy color. Caribbean, which is turquoise, like the ocean, and then you can pick individual colors. You can choose surface lining, line lighting, all the different colors you can get. Lots of different variety here. There's basically 30 different colors you can pick in the car. But off with that, and I want to change it up and get the most important thing here that I like, and that's fragrance. You can have a different scent in the car, and you'll see from my A8 video that it's nice to have a fragrance in the car that the car just spits out at you. And you also have an ionizer, which is pretty awesome. These seats are straight out of an A8. There's full massage with wave, pulse, stretch, relaxation, shoulder, activation, and revitalization. And there's different intensities. And this is a full shiatsu massage. This is as good as it's gonna get in any car I've ever been in. As well as the heated and ventilated 18-way individual contour comfort seats. You can adjust these things in all kinds of ways, and that's something that makes me feel like I'm in first class. So there are 3 different virtual cockpit modes: the classic mode, the e-tron mode, and the sport mode. So I'm going to change it now to the e-tron mode, and this is what the e-tron mode looks like. I really like this mode. This is awesome. It looks super futuristic and tells you everything you need to know about the car, the range, the consumption, and as you can see, I consume 54 kilowatts an hour. That's why this car isn't very good. So I'm gonna just do a long drive and show you how low I can get this kilowatt per hour down to for the guys that don't have a heavy foot like me. But let me show you the third look, and that's a sport look here, and that's what it looks like. So similar, but it's a bit sportier. Get some red, and I'm gonna go to classic and show you what classic looks like, and it's pretty much the same thing, just not as fancy. So the e-tron really changes it up, and that's what it looks like. And I really like it because it's just unique and it's something that I haven't seen from Audi before. All right, so what I did back there was I wanted to see how much grip this car would have in the slipperiest situation I could find. Now this car is equipped with full winter tires along with the world's ugliest rims. But from what I'm told is that those rims have the highest or lowest drag coefficient you can get. Anyways, back to the slipperiest. I was concerned about traction and how Audi pieced together the Quattro system with an electric car. And as you saw back there, I shut ESP off, foot to the ground, not in boost mode, because boost mode gives you an extra 70 horsepower. So I was in regular drive mode, and that gives me 355 horsepower and 414 foot-pounds of torque in the regular mode. When I go into boost mode, it gives me 402 horsepower and 490 foot-pounds of torque. And obviously I don't have a G-meter to test how fast it is 0 to 100, and we're on winters and it's slippery out. But the car is estimated to do 0 to 100 in about 5.7 seconds or 0 to 62 miles an hour. This thing has a 95 kilowatt battery. Something unique about this car is that when I put it in drive or sport, when I feather the throttle and I let go, it rolls back. That's pretty cool. It's kind of like a stick. And also, the car actually won't move forward just because you're in drive or sport. You actually have to hit the gas and then the car will move forward. But so underneath this car has a full 2.5 millimeter thick aluminum plate, because the battery is actually not in the front or the back of the car. The battery is directly between the axles. So it's right underneath us, keeps it very low, and it weighs 700 kilograms, or about 1,100 or 1,200 pounds. I don't know the math off the top of my head, but basically what that means is the car handles very, very well. And that's the first thing I noticed going around a corner. This thing handles awesome. But not only that, is it does something that's totally different than gas cars. In order for something to handle awesome in a gas car, it's got to be either short wheelbase, or it's got to be light, or it's got to be stiff. And this thing is neither. It's actually very comfortable, it's quiet, it's smooth. It's as smooth as an A8, and it's definitely smoother than a Q8, which was actually the car that I had for a month, and I got out of that into this, and that was the best thing I ever did, is get into an e-tron over a Q8. So there's a lot of people that will say, I'm looking at a Q8, I'm looking at Q8, and the Q8 dominates it in terms of exterior aesthetics. The Q8 is a beautiful SUV, but the e-tron just offers something different. And so if you can put up with the charging issue, and obviously I went through the charging issue a lot in this video, but if you can get past the charging, this is a smoother vehicle. This has way more tech. Now I know the dash and the layout is there, but the tech that they put into the car is more. I mean, there's rumors or there's rumblings that a 95 kilowatt battery costs about $90,000 to actually make or cost out. I don't think that's factually true. It's probably closer to 40 or 50. But it's good to know that that's why it costs so much money. I mean, you think about it. So let's say your payment is like $1,200 a month. Out of $1,200, $300 goes to gas, or fuel, I should say. And the cost to run this is as low as 2 liters per 100 kilometers or 1.5 liters per 100 kilometers. So that works out to about $1.50. So in costing out what this car actually costs to charge on a full tank of 300 kilometers or 350 kilometers, or even 400 if you drive gingerly, that's going to cost you about $5. So most cars to fill, or an SUV like this to fill, will cost you about $70 to $80 versus $5. So you can see how the savings add up. So the e-tron is smoother, quieter, about the same size, not as well finished interior besides the dash as a Q8, but it's definitely uglier. But in terms of drive, there's lots of reviews out there that say the Q8 is kind of underpowered. So for a driver's perspective, if you're a driver, the e-tron will serve you better because you have stuff like this. I'm doing 73 kilometers an hour, and when I pin it without going into boost mode, I still get my head pinned back, and I'm doing 100 kilometers an hour. So that's a 30 kilometer jump, or I would say 18 miles an hour jump in under a second, which is pretty amazing and instant. So you don't need all the full torque or the 490 foot-pounds of torque this thing gives you in boost, because that instant push isn't 490 foot-pounds of torque, it's beyond that. So when I'm in full boost, so I have to be in dynamic, I have to have some power in the battery. I can't be low on the battery, but I have to have some power in the battery, and then I'll have boost. So right now I don't have boost. I basically have just under half in terms of power, and I don't have boost anymore, but I still have a ton of power. So much so that the car lifts. At any speed, the car lifts with full air suspension. It's just crazy. This stuff makes you smile. I wish we had outdoor cameras to show you the acceleration differences, or meters to show you how much power you'll actually get from full throttle and how quick you accelerate. But it's literally, the whole car goes like this. And you hear nothing except for a gentle whine. Whine's kind of a bad word, but a gentle, what would you call it? Whine? Yeah. It's a whine, right? A gentle whine. But the drive is one thing, but how it reacts with other cars around it is another. So if I'm in full throttle and I'm approaching a car, the car will automatically recuperate. So there's a story about Audi, and what it is Audi brought an e-tron to Pikes Peak, and that's 30 kilometers. At the top of the mountain, they didn't use the brake once, and they went down 30 kilometers in full recuperation mode. And the power that created allowed it to do 30 kilometers in flat land with the power they made from recuperation. So think about that for a second. You can go down a hill, 32 kilometers, and not touch the brake once, and only use recuperation. So when you want to slow down, you can use the negative paddle shifter here to go down a gear, and you have 2 recuperation modes. The first one's light, and the second one's heavy. When you're in heavy recuperation mode, and that's what the Audi guys did, they went down this hill, 32 kilometers, and they had enough power to use that 32 kilometer recuperation mode to travel an extra 32 kilometers. So that's how much power you can recuperate. Audi says on this battery you can recuperate 30% of the power that you've used, you can recuperate that back, which is pretty amazing. So you can get that extra mileage. Not the way I drive and in this video. All right, so there's a vehicle in front of us, and I'm about 2 car lengths. Now I'm gonna accelerate to get to about 1 car length, and I'm gonna let go of the throttle. And what's gonna happen is this will automatically detect there's a car in front of me, and it'll pretty much recuperate. Now the car is pulling away from me, and I'm recuperating less. Now I'm just in coast mode. And now the car in front of me has moved. Now I'm gonna accelerate. I'm gonna find another car in front of me. And now I'm about 5 car lengths from the car in front of me. There you can see it. and now I'm approaching it fairly fast. Now I'm automatically slowing down and it's recuperating, and I'm not touching the brake. And as he pulls away, I coast more. So that part is what makes this car unique. Every other car, if you accelerate too much or the car in front of you slows down, you have to hit the brakes. And hitting the brakes is the most annoying thing to do for us lazy folks. We don't want to move our feet. We just want to drive and coast and go around the city this way. So the fact this car automatically brakes for you, and it's not automatic braking for you in the sense that you just buy a car with automatic braking. No, because this is not going to actually brake for me like automatic cruise control does. This is just me hitting the gas, hitting too much, accelerating too fast, and going too fast from the car in front of me, and it brakes automatically or recuperates automatically, and it just does it back and forth, but it does it really, really smooth. Something that I wouldn't even notice, or anybody in the car won't notice. So that's why you don't use the brakes very much in this car, and that's why you can recuperate. All right, so I'm on the highway here, and I'm doing 100 kilometers an hour exactly in cruise control. It's a fairly windy day, and I do have the heating on. So I'm gonna shut the heating off in the car now and see how much of a difference that makes. Yeah, oh yeah, it's about 2 kilowatts hour per 100 kilometers that it's helped by shutting the heating off. But this is what I'm doing. I'm doing 100 kilometers an hour, and I'm averaging 29 kilowatts an hour, and that's just straight pulling battery power. Now, recuperation is a big deal, and once I start slowing down over here, you'll see that 27 will drop, and that's what you get. So this is a 95 kilowatt battery. You take 95 kilowatts, or 95 divided by the number you see there, so 95 divided by 30, and basically times that by 100, and that's how many kilometers you'll get. So in this specific case, this will probably do about 300 kilometers at 31 kilowatts in kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and that's how the math is done. But this is not really a true test because I'm just sitting on the highway. So electric cars are not really designed to just sit on the highway and drive. They're designed to really brake and recuperate, and that you'll really see evident when I hit the brakes here as I get off the highway. All right, so now I'm going to apply brakes, and you can see that we're going in the green, and that 28 is dropping pretty heavy. 26, and we're trying to get to about 20, because if we can get to 20 per 100 kilometers, take 95 divided by 20, that's what you can really get. So I don't have a calculator in front of me, and my brain is frozen from doing this video for you guys. 20 kilowatts per hour. I'm going to turn the climate control back in because the car's getting foggy. And yep, so take 95 divided by 20, and that's about, on average, probably about 400K that you're going to get out of the car. So I hope you guys liked the video. This is my real life test in an e-tron in a cold environment to sort of show you how this car reacts in the cold. So you can get as much as 450 kilometers or 320 miles approximately, or as low as 200 kilometers or 130 miles in terms of range. And it all depends on your foot. That's it.